Thank you very much, Duncan, for the introduction, and thank you to the Green European Foundation and Green Foundation Ireland for the invitation for this year's summer school. As Duncan said, I run ISME, the independent SME representative organisation for small and medium businesses in Ireland. And in speaking on the topic this evening, challenges and opportunities in migration, I'm going to speak from the economic perspective with a focus on small and medium businesses and the presence and the contribution that immigrant workers make to the labour market, to the workplaces and to the economy up and down the country. I'll start by making maybe a few general comments. The politics of who is and who is not allowed to enter our great little country and on what terms has always been contentious. And that remains true today, and it's made worse by a failure of those politicians that Brian has been speaking about, both local and European, to fix a broken immigration system. Some people like to present immigration as a binary choice. On one side, there are those who, as a matter of principle, say that all immigration is damaging to our economy and to our society. And on the other, there are those who question why we should be bothered about immigration levels at all. On the former, I have little to say other than all of the rational evidence points to an overwhelming argument for positive migration, and I have no time for weak xenophobic arguments. On the latter side, for which I have much more empathy, I suppose I must also dissent, however, albeit that my heart is with them. For example, there are those in the immigrants' rights community who have argued passionately that we should simply provide those who are here illegally or who are coming here illegally with legal rights, or at least ignore the laws on the books and put an end to threats and actual deportation until we have better laws. And often this argument is framed in moral terms. Why should we punish people who are just trying to earn a living? We also must remember their status may be illegal, but there aren't any illegal human beings as far as I'm concerned. So I recognise the sense of compassion that drives this argument, but I believe such an indiscriminate approach would be both unwise and unfair. It would suggest to those thinking about coming here illegally that there will be no repercussions for such a decision, and this could lead to an increase in more illegal immigration. And it would also ignore that the many people who are waiting in line to come here legally. Ultimately, our country, our nation, like other nations, has the right and the obligation to control its borders and to set laws for residency and citizenship. And no matter how decent these people are, no matter their reasons, those who break our laws should be held accountable. Now, once we get past the two poles of that debate, it becomes possible to shape a practical, common-sense approach that reflects our heritage and our values. Such an approach demands accountability from everybody, from government, from business, and from individuals. Our task, therefore, I suppose, is to make our national laws actually work and to help shape a system that reflects our values as a nation of free men, open to new entrants. And that means being honest about the problem and getting past the false debates that can divide the country rather than bring it together. It also means ensuring that our system is fair so that we can support the aspirations of hard-working people who want to get on in life. The refugee migrant crisis is a global challenge nation states are really not equipped to deal with on their own. Even less so if every government only focuses on their own issues and the refugees arriving in their own respective countries. So there's a lot to be looked at here, and I suppose when I came in here this evening and I just saw the poster on Annie Moore, and just, you know, we Irish people since 1845 and probably before it have been imposing ourselves on other countries as a result of hunger and famine, and intermittently even more recently due to high unemployment. And as I say, Annie Moore just struck a chord with me. She went on the ship Nevada. I'm a grandson of a migrant who went a couple of years behind anymore who went to the States. And it's amazing just to listen to my father when he was alive, just talking about the issues that arose over there and the discrimination. And again, just looking at the poster there just reminded me of it. And my grandfather used to say that he went 5,500 miles to be discriminated against by somebody who was 2 parishes away from him at home in Kilkenny. Again, there's a long story there, but as I say, I'm a grandson of a migrant, and as luck would have it, I'm the father of 3 migrants as well. My 3 sons are all living away from Ireland. So from that point of view, none of us are very far away from issues around this. And people arriving here in the hope of a better life, in the hope of being a part of a culture, and that culture that I probably represent, a culture of entrepreneurship and ingenuity, and by doing so, when they come, they strengthen and enrich our culture. Immigration also means that we have a younger workforce, we have a faster growing economy, and that faster growing economy is actually faster than many of our competitors. So as I said when I started, I'm going to be talking about it really from an economic point of view, I suppose. And in an increasingly interconnected world, the diversity of our country is a powerful advantage in global competition. The presence of migrant workers and their families is perhaps one of the most obvious signs that Ireland is or has joined the forces of modern-day globalisation, a process that will not end because of changing economic circumstances. Brian has already mentioned migrants contributing to economic growth and human development in both home and host countries. And they enrich societies through cultural diversity, fostering understanding and respect among peoples. Migration is also an important means for migrants and their families to improve their life conditions and realise their own human rights. So as I've said, I'm speaking on the economic perspective with a focus on small businesses and the presence and the contribution that immigrant workers make to the labour market and to workplaces up and down the country. From a small business perspective, particularly during the so-called tiger years, when we had significant labour shortages, migrants ably filled a vacuum in the Irish labour market that has helped sustain many of those businesses that I represent and sustain the Irish economy in general. The reality on the ground remains that Irish small and medium businesses are still very much reliant on the migrant population. Without immigration, many small businesses wouldn't have been able to survive, and businesses have certainly benefited from that process. These migrant workers have a huge contribution to make, and I know from our own members reporting the high level of satisfaction, with many going so far as to say that the migrants' productivity is much higher than the indigenous workers. Now, I'd be killed for saying that in some, but however, that's the truth of it. And it's reminiscent of the positive reputation that Irish people had abroad through the generations, being viewed as hard-working and work-conscious. Immigration is having a positive knock-on effect in Ireland as immigrants pay their taxes and buy products and services, helping to provide employment for themselves and for Irish people. They fill the economic needs not met by the native labour force. For instance, the hospitality sector, the retail, health, financial sectors have all attracted a high proportion of immigrants. Immigrants account for over 30% of those employed in the hotels and restaurant sector, and almost another 30% in the care and domestic work sector. Without those immigrants, many Irish businesses would have had to close. And another place where we need immigrants is, and it's often overlooked in this country, is in companies, many small businesses that are exporting their products and their services overseas. To sell our exports to Europe, to Africa, to Asia, we need to overcome the handicap of not being able to speak the language and, more importantly, not knowing the culture. Without being able to hire immigrants for sales, customer support and documentation, how well could Irish small businesses get on? Can we sell products to France without speaking French? Can we sell products in services to China without speaking Mandarin, and so on. A consistent flow of immigration not only brings strong social and cultural positives, but also economic benefits. And for instance, we estimate that between 16 and 20% of new business startups are now being undertaken by immigrants. That's 1 in every 6 new business that's being set up at the moment is being set up by immigrants. So why is it in the interest of small and medium businesses and employers to seek proper and fair immigration procedures and to see an improved immigration policy and regularisation introduced in Ireland? Selfish reason maybe, but there is an unfair competitive advantage which the current system gives to exploitative employers who systematically hire undocumented workers. The resulting race to the bottom as businesses try to compete by employing illegal labour kills legitimate business, and it further expands the underground or the black economy and reduces tax revenues, which obviously the Exchequer badly needs. And that's why businesses must be held accountable if they break the law by deliberately hiring and exploiting undocumented workers. And we know that migrants are often to be found working in jobs that have the 3 Ds. I'm sure you're all aware of: dirty, dangerous and degrading. While for some, migration is a positive and empowering experience, for too many migrants, they have to endure human rights violations, discrimination and exploitation. But we need to do more. We can't continue just to look the other way as a significant proportion of our society and of our economy operates outside of the law. It breeds abuse and bad practices. It punishes employers who act responsibly, and it undercuts Irish workers. An improved policy on regularisation rewards compliant employers who want to be fair to their staff. The economic rationale for a once-off regularisation for undocumented migrants living and working here long-term is persuasive in its own right. Bringing more workers into the tax net, a scheme that could potentially, according to the migrants' MRCI, it would potentially generate 180 million over 5 years. And that obviously would be protecting the workers and businesses and actually addressing part of the current unsustainable situation. Displacement is often mentioned, and Brian has already spoken about this, but about the statistics and about all of the multiplicity of reviews. But from a detailed review of international literature, there is absolutely no comprehensive research to indicate that displacement of native-born workers occurs as a result of introducing regularisation. On the contrary, bringing irregular migrants into formal employment helps diminish the black economy and improves conditions in those sectors. Immigrants are thus neither a burden to the public purse, nor are they a panacea for addressing fiscal challenges. In most countries, migrants contribute more in taxes and social contributions than they receive in individual benefits. Migrants, after all, don't come for social benefits, but to work, to find work, to improve their lives and those of their families. Efforts to better integrate immigrants should thus be seen as an investment rather than a cost. First, migration has a demographic impact, not only by increasing the size of the population, but also by changing the age pyramid of the receiving country. Migrants tend to be more concentrated in the younger and economically active age groups compared with natives, and therefore contribute to reduced dependency ratios. So again, I'm looking at it from an economic point of view. Migrants arrive with skills and abilities and supplement the stock of human capital of the host country. And again, we can see that, and evidence across the US, but also we can see it in Ireland, suggesting that the skilled immigrants are contributing to boosting research and innovation, as well as technological progress. So we in ISME are happy to join the growing coalition of organisations who endorse the calls for improved policies and regularisation. Over the years, we in the association have had a steady increase in contact with employers impacted by the challenge of retaining skilled and qualified staff and remaining fully compliant with immigration policies, looking onto us on the helpline, looking for information and support in attempting to regularise valued employees who are undocumented. Although Ireland will need immigrants for the foreseeable future, official policy is still based on the assumption that their stay is temporary rather than permanent. And that requires a comprehensive review of that policy, with immigrants being seen as potentially permanent members of our society, provided with equal rights and citizenship. Such a change will require a sea change in public and official attitudes, including the need for more integrated political management and interdepartmental policy making. We need a new model of engagement, and that should be facilitated by a greater public debate on diversity and the comparative experience of Irish people abroad. Above all, the message has to go out from the government and from the business community that immigrants are truly welcome and will be afforded the same rights and opportunities that exist for Irish people. And small businesses can play a key role in ensuring that these objectives are achieved. It's essential that government develop policies aimed at encouraging people with sought-after qualifications and entrepreneurial ability to consider Ireland as a destination for permanent migration for themselves and for their families. And sometimes I wonder, we provide students from around the world with visas to get engineering and computer and science degrees at our top universities and colleges. And our laws then discourage them from using those skills to start a business or to power a new industry right here in Ireland. Instead of training entrepreneurs to create jobs on our shores, what we're doing is actually training our competition. And one very important aspect, I think, is that we have to stop punishing innocent young people for the actions of their parents by denying them the chance to stay here and earn an education and contribute their talents to build the country where they've grown up. Migration brings both benefits and costs, and these effects are often interrelated and potentially conflicting. Explicit discussions on these types of effects needs to be central to thinking about future directions for migration policy. If Ireland is to manage the costs and benefits of migration successfully, the government will need to ensure that policies are developed in the interests of both the host society and migrants. And we in ISME will always play our part, and we have always done so in promoting the benefits of immigration and the positive impact on the Irish economy and Irish society generally. The contributions of those who stay in Ireland will increase as they have not reached their full economic potential. And we often talk in terms of the IDA going out and bringing in foreign direct investment. Surely our migrant population is a new form of foreign direct investment. So just to conclude, we hear about the effect that migrants have on businesses or on the economy. But again, a multiplicity of reports would say that GDP in countries rarely moves by about 0.5%, either positive or negative. So again, it doesn't have a major effect on where you hear from, as I said, that side of the argument. Migrants arrive with skills, and that contributes obviously to human capital. They enrich our culture. Skilled immigrants contribute to and boost research and development and technological progress. Migrants contribute more in taxes and social contributions than they receive in benefits. I've already said that a once-off regularisation of what we have in Ireland would potentially generate an extra 180 million over 5 years. We have to think in terms of the age pyramid. 61% of our migrants are aged between 25 and 39, meaning if they stay and when they stay in Ireland, they will contribute for over 25 to 30 years in tax contributions. So they do change that age pyramid. 97% of undocumented migrants in Ireland have second level education, and over half, 53%, have third level education. We should be working with them. We should be employing them. And that would give us a powerful advantage in what we call this global competition. I've already mentioned 1 in 6, nearing 1 in 5 of startups are being created by immigrants. And Irish small and medium businesses are still very much reliant on the migrant population for their employees. I've mentioned 30% in the hotel and catering, 30% in the care and domestic work. Exporters require migrants for sales, customer support and documentation. And as I say, on the selfish side of things, if we don't look at this and sort it out, it creates unfair competitive advantage for those exploitative employers who hire undocumented workers. So by addressing it properly, we do address part of the black economy. And finally, what I would say is, again, in the this summer school and the work that's being done, really, it's our job, I suppose, that we make our national laws actually work. And with that, I'll leave you. Thank you.